Please join us on stage, Mr. Pandu Nayak, and we have Chanda taking this conversation forward. Let's welcome him with a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Pleasure to have you with us, sir.
Okay, a huge round of applause for Pandu Nayak. He leads search for Google globally. I have a lot of questions on search engine optimization, but I will come to that later. But thank you so much for coming all the way from California to Bangalore to the Global AI Conclave. We've had some great conversations during the day. But, you were one of the architects of Google search. What was it like to build a search engine in the early 2000s, and how has it changed since then?
First, thank you for having me. It's great to be here with everyone in person like this. I've been at Google now 19 years, and
Wow.
Which is
And your journey started from what, IIT Bombay, Stanford, and then
and then I worked at NASA for many years, where I did one of my most exciting projects. And then I was at a startup for 5 years, and then I joined Google. So,
right.
Not too many jobs. You say, what was it like then, and how is it different from now? I think the interesting thing is, in some ways, the challenges we faced then and the way it was then are exactly the same ones we face today. And in what sense do I mean that? Google has a mission, which is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. And that mission has remained unchanged through these years. So we're still very motivated to do exactly that. And the way we do that is by surfacing results that have two important characteristics. They're relevant to what you're asking about, and they're preferably from high-quality sources. This has been our core since the beginning, and it's exactly what we do today also. So at the very heart of it, it's really the same. But of course, looked at a different way, everything has changed, right? And everything has changed on a number of different fronts. Probably the most important thing that has changed is the technology we use, right? In the early days, it was primarily information retrieval technology. We did use artificial intelligence or machine learning, which was the technology of the day. Even for things like spell correction, we used language models. They looked very different than the ones you see today, but that was the machine learning of the day. And we used to use that. Then that evolved into using the knowledge graph, right? That was the next big technological leap. Because the idea is that words are not just sequences of characters, they actually refer to things. So you need to know what things are out there in the world, and that's what the knowledge graph gave you, and that allowed us to build amazing experience. And then there was the whole technology of deep learning, and we applied it in a variety of different ways to, again, improve our understanding of language and so forth. And now today we have the technology of generative AI. So the technology has sort of dramatically changed in the intervening years, though the core problem that we are trying to solve,
which is organizing the world's information.
Exactly. That has not
How
changed.
you organize it is changing.
How you do it is changing.
Got
exactly.
it. You spoke about generative AI, and that was actually my next question. It's really disrupted the way people seek and interact with information. So how has that influenced how you build Google search?
Yeah, I mean, I think Google's mission has not changed, right? We still want to help you find the information you need as soon as possible. What is changing here is the technology, right? And generative AI is this really compelling new technology that we have in place. And we are looking to see how we can use that to actually continue to do the same thing. The thing that actually changes search in a much more significant way is sort of what users want and what users need. Right? So a really good example of that actually is illustrated in India itself here, where a lot of users, young people with phones, seem to like to search with their voice. Right? Like India has the highest voice search sort of fraction of users using voice search.
In fact, we had the Bhashani CEO literally issue a voice command and
exactly.
money got transferred to his daughter.
Exactly. And so we've noticed this, and so voice search is a crucial thing that has helped the evolution of search. Today, you find people with all these cell phones having cameras and things. Images is another way to search. So Google Lens, for example, was something that was motivated by this desire to search by image, right? You know, you like some shirt that your friend is wearing, and you'd like that, but you'd want it in maybe, like, at least I would want it in maybe a somewhat less bright color. And so then how do I search for that? Well, you point at it and you say, I want that shirt, but in maybe a blue rather than the bright red that my friend is wearing, right? And so it's a new way of searching that Google Lens is enabling. And the third great example of how user needs are changing, which is leading to an evolution of search, is people want, what we've noticed is people want to hear from other people. Right? That's like this human voice is another very big thing. You're seeing this from forums, you're seeing it from short videos of various sorts. People want to hear from other people, and so we have to evolve search to deal with that.
That actually brings me to my next question. One, I don't want to call it jargon, but one term that you all keep using is multimodal, which basically means you don't just search using text, but you use voice, you use images, and so on. So is that going to be the future of search for Google?
Yeah, I think multimodality is absolutely a future, and there's a good reason for that, right? The good reason being, you know, when we started Google way back 25 years ago now, primarily the content on the web was text content.
Yeah.
Right? Now, over the years, images and videos, so more visual content has become a bigger and bigger part of what you find on the web. Now today we look back on video, I mean we take videos on the web as completely standard, right? You go to YouTube, you go to your favorite video provider. But in the early days, videos were sort of coming up and we had to respond by adding videos into search. Right? Actually, there's a great little example that my colleague gives me. He used to love to search for the query Tryst with Destiny, which was Pandit Nehru's famous speech on the eve of independence. And so he used to go back and search it regularly to read the speech. And then one day, we had launched videos in search, and he happened to search this thing. And lo and behold, he saw that there was a video of Pandit Nehru actually giving the speech. And he was just blown away, right? And so today this might not seem so awesome, but at that time it was just like mind-boggling to him that this was happening.
Got it.
And so that's one aspect of multimodality, text, images. The other aspect, and being able to understand this content effectively. The other side of multimodality is on the input side, right? Do you just type queries, or do you speak them with audio? Do you give them as images? Do you give them in multiple modalities? Can you give an image and a piece of text that modifies the image in some way, right? Which together captures the intent, sort of like pointing at something and asking another question. So increasingly, we're seeing people wanting to do this because it's a very natural way to ask a bunch of questions. And so the future is absolutely multimodal for all of these reasons.
Got it. For a significant part of this year, it almost seemed like Google was playing catch up in AI tech, despite you guys starting Google Brain so many years ago. In fact, we had Andrew Ng speak about it, earlier this morning. But do you think you have sort of, caught up now with the launch of Gemini, and you've launched Gemini Pro and so on just a few days ago?
So, I guess I take a slightly different view of
You don't
of
believe
this.
you were playing catch up?
And I'll explain why, right? Like, I mean, I'm not just saying this, right? So generative AI has a fairly long history now. The core technology that went into it was this notion of a transformer. It's a little component in a neural network. Like ChatGPT, the T stands for transformer. And the transformer was a piece of technology that Google had developed as a way of really understanding language in context. And that led to a system called BERT, which was one of a very early sort of large language model that did things. And soon after that, Google developed this conversational agent called Lambda. So we've had Lambda now out for several years, right? It was demoed by our CEO, Sundar Pichai, at one of the Google I/O things several years ago. And then one wonders, why didn't we simply launch this Lambda as a consumer product here? And the reason for that is this technology is amazing. This conversational technology is amazing. But it also has challenges. Right? It's got challenges around safety. It's got challenges around factuality and so forth. And core to how Google operates is our motto for generative AI has been to be bold and responsible. Right? So we've advanced the state of the art in very significant ways, but we want to bring it to product in responsible ways also. Right? And so we have spent the time to develop techniques and to make sure that products like Bard and other things reflect the kind of AI principles that we've put forward around developing AI products safely, to make sure we've tested them appropriately, to make sure that we address these problems as effectively as possible. And so that's the reason we've been sort of seemingly slow, because we've taken it sort of more carefully, shall we say, right? Having said that, I think the Gemini launch that you talked about is quite a landmark one for us. I think these models proved to be pretty remarkable. And going back to your earlier question about multimodality, Gemini is not only super capable in all sort of these language understanding, code generation, and all these kinds of things, but it was designed to be multimodal from the start.
Got it.
Right, and so there's a lot of excitement around that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how we're going to bring it to our users in search.
Got it. When ChatGPT, was launched, one of the first predictions that people made was this will kill Google search as we know it, because it offers a more customized experience. Of course, now you have Bard, and Bard is, Bard is also offering that experience. So do you think search will fundamentally change, where people want a more customized experience vis-a-vis surfacing the first 10 links that you can find?
No, so I think the search is constantly changing, firstly, right? And it has constantly changed through the 20 years or 19 years that I've been there, right? And I have every reason to believe it will continue changing. So in light of what we have with generative AI, with models like Gemini and so forth, we've been developing a version of that generative AI experience within search. It's called Search Generative Experiences. It's launched as an opt-in experiment right now. We're working out exactly how to make sure we can bring it to all our users, right? And that's an example of how we are thinking of bringing this technology to search in a way that allows even more guidance on getting you to the information you need as quickly as possible. And so this is absolutely, we'll continue experimenting with the latest and greatest technology to do the best for our users.
What's the last question you asked Bard?
What was the last question I asked Bard? I think I asked Bard something about a football game that I was interested in.
Okay. The minister today also spoke about deepfakes. In fact, he's been meeting social media platforms on what can be done. And this week we saw Infosys founder Narayan Murthy, who never tweets. He put up 5 tweets clarifying that, this wasn't his video. We saw Zerodha founder, talking about deepfake as well. So it's become all pervasive. Can you technically control this? Is there something you can do with respect to labeling deepfakes? Because I'm sure YouTube, will be one of the means through which this is disseminated apart from Instagram and so on. So is it possible? Is that something that you're seriously looking at?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a number of different things to point out here. This is part of that responsibility part that I've been talking about, and the AI principles that sort of guide us in this regard. We've done a bunch of things. Your question is specifically about deepfakes, so let me sort of address that. Part of it. Part of the thing that we do in these cases is we want to help people understand the content that they encounter online. We want to give them more context on that so that they can decide for themselves whether something is AI generated, something is fake or not, right? And so an example of something we've done is recently, as part of Google search, we launched something called About This Image, right? And the idea there is you can give it an image and it will tell you where and when that image first appeared on the web and where else it appears on a news site or a fact-checking site or on social media or whatever. And the idea is you can use this tool to get more context about where this image came from, right? And learn context about this image. So you can decide, for example, if it's on a fact-checking site, maybe the fact check tells you this is an AI generated, it's a fake image, it's not a real image of a faked moon landing or something like that, right? And so we are very gung-ho about giving you context. On the other side, in cases where there is sort of AI generated content coming along, Google DeepMind, for example, has generated this watermarking technology called SynthID, right? That you can add to your AI-generated images. And the neat thing about these SynthID watermarks is that they're detectable even after you modify the image in various ways. You add a filter, you change some colors, you save it in some lossy compression format, you can still detect the watermark. We expect to be able to share this with publishers and creators. And the idea is they can add these watermarks to their AI-generated images in this thing, which then will allow labeling of those images in Google search. So there's a number of things like this that we are doing to start addressing these problems.
Got it. You spoke about how India is a very voice-first country. If you can give us a broader sense of what role India will play when it comes to the future of search from Google's vantage.
I mean, I think what is neat about India is it forces us to think about a lot of interesting problems. I think voice first is a great example of it. But another really important problem that India really highlights is language, different languages, right? And so we've done a lot of work, even in search, to use things like Google Translate, for example, right? Like we've been for several years now, we've been trying to improve the search experience for our Hindi users and our local language users, right? And we've done that both by making sure on the input side that the voice recognition for Hindi is improved and becomes, improves as good as, say, English voice recognition. But on the other side, to not only just improve the search experience for Hindi users, but in terms of the content sparsity that there is in there compared to, say, our English users, we found ways to automatically translate sort of high quality English documents, locally relevant English documents, ranging from Wikipedia to other local sites, and then surface them on the Hindi search experience in Hindi and give access to users. So there's just a number of things that we're doing around language. I think earlier on there was talk with Manish Gupta from Google where he talked about the Vani project that is part of Bhashini, where they're also very interested in speech recognition for a variety of different languages. So this is a great example of things. And then, of course, there's the multimodality, the image photo first things that are very central to the kinds of things that users do here.
Got it. So, Panu, one last question that I have. Now that, 2023 is ending, what's your big prediction for the future of AI in 2024? Apart from multimodality and languages and everything that you've said so far, give me one big prediction.
I'm not a great one for predictions, I have to say. But my hope for AI is, think about the following, right? Like computers have completely transformed our lives today, right? But do you see computers everywhere, or do you just take for granted that they are there and you use it? Like the phone, you don't think of your computer in the phone. You think of it as a communication device, as a web device. It's just sort of there. It's sort of like electric motors, right? They've completely transformed everything, but you don't think about them. So my fondest hope for AI is that it sort of fades into the sort of the background, and it comes out as these compelling experiences of one sort or the other that we completely take for granted. We completely think of them as natural. We're not in awe of them. They're working just as you expect them to work. And what AI is doing is it's the technology that is going to make our experiences be seamless, right? And so I don't have a specific prediction for next year or anything, but I see that. I mean, like even when we talk about voice first, why is that compelling? It's because we naturally talk to each other. And so when you talk to your phone, it should appear natural like that, right? And so I think of AI in those terms, that it's going to create for us experiences that are seamless, they'll be natural, we won't think twice about them because they're working the way they should.
Got it. I can't let you go without asking you, how does one crack this search engine optimization or SEO thing? Give me some tips and tricks. We struggle every day. We use Google Analytics and Chartbeat, spend a lot of time on keywords, but give me some tips and tricks.
The single most important tip...
Don't tell me create good content.
...is serve your users.
Serve your users?
Serve your users is the
Give
single most important
actionable.
thing. That is the most actionable thing. Everything else is not useful. If you serve your users, I guarantee you will do well.
Okay. On that note, thank you very much, Pandu, for coming all the way from Mountain View to Bengaluru for Global AI Conclave. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pandu Nayak and Chandra, for that very engaging conversation. Thank you for